Hey, what do you know? I actually got this Kingdom Hearts video done soon after the last one. What are the odds? Welcome back everybody to the final stop of the Kingdom Hearts retrospective. It only took us like... Wow, it's been almost 2 years to get up until this point. Wow. This really was a mistake. The stage is set for the next main game in the series. Sora gets a letter from Mickey leading him onto another adventure. It is time for Kingdom Hearts 3. D. Oh, that's gross. Dream Drop Distance, haha, 3D, very cute, released on the 3DS 2 years after Birth by Sleep, and similar to why I didn't play that game at first, I really couldn't bring myself to play a portable Kingdom Hearts game while they refused to talk about KH3. Thankfully though, as we all expected, the game got a remaster with an HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, where it is now called HD Dream Drop Distance. It kind of ruins the whole joke there, doesn't it? So, somehow, after both Ansem and Xemnas were defeated, Xehanort was revived. Now you may think that that's a fairly confusing plot point. That's because it is. To combat the returning evil, Yen Sid put Sora and Riku through the Mark of Mastery exam for them to become fully fledged Keyblade Masters. As if saving the day twice in Endless Voids wasn't enough. To go along with the exam, each go their separate ways to worlds that have been restored from the evil Heartless. However, they have remained in a state of quote-unquote deep sleep. They really are just throwing anything that they can think of at the wall and hoping something sticks. Shh. You gotta be very quiet. The world is asleep. The first stop on their travels is Traverse Town. Really? The place isn't totally out of the clear yet? Okay. But then you soon dive into the Disney worlds. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Tron Legacy, which... That's a very weird choice for Kingdom Hearts. Pinocchio, both inside Monstro with Riku and the outside world with Sora, the Three Musketeers, and lastly, Fantasia. Five Disney worlds. That's it, the least amount of Disney representation in the series yet, and it's the only game thus far without Olympus Coliseum. Why? Structurally, yeah, you kinda get it by now. You run in, you meet characters, you explore, you fight a bad guy, and you move on. And luckily, the game does start out pretty quickly, and what's bizarre is that when you do dive into Traverse Town, it's the cast of The World Ends With You? The hell? I mean, cool, I guess. The World Ends With You is a fantastic game, but what a dirty tease. I want a sequel to that game, and seeing these characters here instead, it just makes that a little bit more painful. Someday, my love, you will return from war. Even weirder is the method that the characters use to travel to a different world. Introducing Dive Mode, where you just fall and collect some items. That's about it. There is some variation to each world's dive section, but it honestly never really gets all that exciting, and it feels really shoehorned in. I get that they don't want to use the gummy ship every single time, but Birth by Sleep did fine not having a segment like this. Even weirder on top of this, by this point, you may have noticed that both Sora and Riku, despite this taking place after KH2, suddenly look a whole lot younger. Honestly, the game does not really explain this at all. Apparently it's because Yen Sid believes that reverting them back to their younger selves will somehow help with the Mark of Mastery exam. But I can't defend this. This is just dumb. There's no smooth transition to it. Tutorial as young, cutscene as old, dive as young, and it's all within the first 10 minutes of the game. There's even this segment later on in the game where Sora kinda teeters back and forth between his young design and his older design, and it kinda makes sense in the story, but like it's just weird to look at. But as for the gameplay itself, it follows the same basic idea of the previous games, just sometimes you play as Riku instead, who is very similar to Sora. There's a bunch of Keyblade slashing and a bunch of ability using thanks to the command deck. But there are two new main mechanics to have this game stand out. First up is flow motion, which lets you just flow freely throughout the lands, and it has its benefits in both exploration as well as combat. You have a quick glide in the air, you can jump off walls with incredible speeds just to slam down with an attack. It is genuinely satisfying and pretty fun. They don't explain why the characters have these abilities now, but hey, it is what it is. That being said, I'm really not a fan of it. The way you use flow motion doesn't really change up throughout the entire adventure, so you better get used to dashing into walls and slamming down to the ground because it happens a lot. And boy, do not even get me started on Balloon. Introducing the new string of commands, Balloon. These abilities absolutely break the game. These orbs can go flying everywhere and they do a stupid amount of damage. And while it's cool, it is so easy to abuse that at the end of the day, combat was just not that enjoyable to me. I mean, I guess I could just not use it, but I shouldn't have to force myself to not use one of the abilities to make the adventure more enjoyable. To the game's credit though, the boss fights are pretty neat. They're still very easily abusable, but not that much, and they're pretty fun. And then there are the Dream Eaters. Boy, what a thing these things are. These creatures both act as your helpers, as well as the enemies. So rather than having traditional party members, you can now have two Dream Eaters alongside you, as well as one that you can swap out as you see fit, occasionally giving you access to some unique special attacks. And that's really about it. Ultimately, they're kinda Pokemon. There are 51 different creatures that you can create, and you can also make them stronger by playing these minigames that can use the PS4 controller's touchpad since it initially used the 3DS's touchscreen. And then there's this unique fuller game they have called Flick Rush, where you pit your Dream Eaters to battle with some others, and like, God, these things are so pointless. I guess some of the designs are kinda neat, but they're really just a new idea for the sake of it. They don't really fit in with the rest of the Kingdom Hearts universe. I can accept overly animated characters meshing with the cast of Final Fantasy and even The World Ends With You, meshing with Disney, as well as some dark enemies here and there. But these things are just like these cute and fluffy little animals, and it doesn't fit. Sure, the Unversed were created for one game specifically, and that's it, but they make sense in the universe. These guys just are. And the last new main addition is how the game switches off between Sora and Riku. You see this bar right here? Well, it's a timer, and when time runs out, the character that you're playing as falls asleep on the spot, which the game calls a drop, by the way, because forcing you to stop playing as that character and switch to the other. And believe me, I wish I was making that up too. Luckily, there's easy access to items that restore the drop gauge because, like, this is by far the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It is so bizarre, I guess I'll say, being 2/3 of the way through a world with Sora, only to forcibly start a new world with Riku. Who thought this was a good idea? Seriously, this is one of the weirdest and, I'm gonna say, dumbest mechanics I've ever seen in any game ever. This is just something that was thrown into Birth by Sleep just for the sake of it. This game is absolutely filled with...
Well, welcome back, everybody. I do believe it's finally time to finish this Kingdom Hearts marathon. Like plenty of you out there, I'm anxious to finally get through the next game in the series, though I'm not really sure on why we got another main game with a bunch of new major plot points that just made the wait for Kingdom Hearts 3 take even longer, but instead I guess we got Kingdom Hearts 3D? Yeah, real cute, guys. Well, I am curious to say that... so that's what's happening. Okay, you see, this right here, this is dumb, and that's putting it very lightly. Just forcing me to go to sleep just for the sake of being different. This game has time travel too. Son of a bitch.
Oh my god. Oh, what the hell just happened? And why do I feel like playing Sonic 06? Alright, I think with all of that out of the way, it's time we wrap up the story. Along his adventure, Sora encounters this new guy in a black coat, who turns out to be a younger Xehanort, who has the ability to travel through time, and has been on a mission to gather various incarnations of himself, including the resurrected Ansem and Xemnas, and he's doing this to create a brand new Organization 13, featuring the 3 previously mentioned members, along with the older Xehanort, as well as Xigbar. And why Xigbar? Well, because...
Me? I'm already half Xehanort.
I've said it before, and I will stick to my claim that the Kingdom Hearts plotline is really not that confusing as some people claim, as long as you actually play through the games yourselves and experience it firsthand. However, this is a different story. It turns out Xehanort's goal all along was for Organization 13 to be 13 clones of himself? Seriously? So Xehanort's plot here is to use Sora as a vessel as well, and he attempts this by forcing him into a comatose state. However, thankfully Riku is here to save him, as he dives into Sora's heart to awaken him, fighting some inner darkness along the way, including a fight with the young Xehanort, which... the game has a bit of a difficulty spike right about here. And then, thanks to the rest of the heroes, Lee included, their plan, or I guess I should just say his plan since they're all the same guy, kinda, I guess, fails and they retreat. And it turns out that Sora's heart has actually been held inside of some shadow form of Ventus's armor now, because nothing matters anymore. Why would I question it? And once that's defeated, Sora is back to his regular self. However, when all is said and done, Riku is the only one who passed the exam. And in the same encounter, Lee reveals himself to have also become a Keyblade wielder? Sure. You know what? Why not at this point? Disappointed in himself, Sora goes on his own to train some more, and in a secret cutscene, Riku brings Kairi to the mysterious tower, as Yen Sid believes that she will have an important role in the final battle, and boom, we're done here. I'm sorry everyone, but Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, this game is a mess on basically all fronts. Mechanically, the game is kind of fun, I'm not gonna lie, but the combat gets pretty repetitive pretty quickly. Exploration is so bare bones it was barely worth mentioning at all. The story is either not interesting or so off the wall ridiculous that I can't possibly defend where they took this whole Xehanort time traveling thing. The lack of Disney worlds is not only disappointing, but goes against the entire reason why Kingdom Hearts was interesting in the first place, and what they did choose, it seems like they chose them because they couldn't flesh out those ideas any further to make them feel like a justifiable inclusion in Kingdom Hearts 3. Case in point, Tron Legacy. Really? Of the entire Disney library, you're gonna go back to Fantasia, and you're gonna go back to the Three Musketeers, and then Tron Legacy? After complaining for years about not having Kingdom Hearts 3, Square-Enix's solution was to create a game that didn't need to exist, that solved questions that nobody was asking by adding time travel to the mix. Awesome. If you're curious, by all means check the game out, because while I still believe that Kingdom Hearts 3 has the potential to be really awesome, there's a strong possibility you're going to need to know what happened in this game to understand what's going to happen in that game. They've done this before, but personally, definitely was not a fan. And then there's Kingdom Hearts Key. Alright, now don't worry now, I won't be talking about this that much because really, I don't have much to say. Kingdom Hearts Key was released on mobile devices and in some places PC, free to play, and it shows off some events that took place during the Keyblade War. And while conceptually that sounds really cool, I couldn't tell you how this game works at all. It's pretty repetitive, it's fairly simplistic, but it has a ton of cards with artwork to collect that you can also use as attacks, so neat. There is actually some semblance of story going on here too, which kinda blows my mind. A full feature-length movie sort of telling the events of the game was created for 2.8. And I mean, I appreciate the effort that went into this. This is a built from the ground up CG movie that goes into details on these new characters, the foretellers, and this new location, Daybreak Town. But honestly, everybody, I really could not bring myself to care about Key. If they wanted to make this a simple cash-in mobile game, then fine, but to make it reveal story elements that may or may not be prominent in Kingdom Hearts 3 and in a game that's on mobile devices, it's really just getting too much at this point. I mean, I guess if you're interested, you can give the game a shot. I never really hear anything negative about the game. That being said, I never really hear anything about the game at all. But hey, you ever wonder where I got that Dearly Beloved remix for the opening to these retrospectives? Yeah, that's just Key's title screen. The fact that barely anybody got that, I think is pretty telling for the game. I know I'm sort of ending things on a bit of a down note here with two games that I clearly wasn't a fan of, but that's just the state of the series. Up until now, things were slightly confusing storyline-wise, but I think I can safely say that me, and almost everybody else, was very much ready for Kingdom Hearts 3. We had 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep, the 3 main games that are all pretty enjoyable to different levels, and 3 spin-offs with Chain of Memories, Recoded, and 358 Days Over 2, 3 games that really didn't need to exist. Dream Drop Distance and Key is like this weird fanfiction that was then made canon, and again, like the spin-offs, they didn't need to exist. But hey, on the bright side, we are done with the Kingdom Hearts retrospective. We are finally done talking about Kingdom Hearts games until Kingdom Hearts 3, which comes out in like 10, 20 years. Who even knows at this point? But it doesn't matter! We're done! And what did we learn from this long adventure? Well, Kingdom Hearts 2 is pretty cool. Ah yes, the door is closed. What a fitting ending.